Well, good morning. It is a Sunday morning here, and you're welcome to a lovely grey Longford. I'm doing this. Ooh, I'm doing this morning. This little video for you. I'm actually out at work. I'm going to be going down doing a bit of shopping for the family, but I'm down at work in lockdown. You might ask, what's going on? Well, here in Ireland, us window cleaners aren't down as essential services, and so the government have been very strict on not working. However, what they have said is on their website that we're allowed to clean buildings that are down as essential services. So, and that's on the government website. So I'm down this morning and I am doing a medical centre, and it's a job that we do every few months. So the windows are a bit bad, but not too bad. Yeah, so I'm gonna knock it out Sunday morning. It's about 9:30. I've got my trusty cup of tea here, and I am going to crack on this building here. So yeah, gonna make a good start of it. Yeah, so here I am, and I love my van setup. Again, I saw a few people talking about going with the tubeless setting. I'll have to look into that from Exceed Innovations. My SLX pole. So basically all I do here now is I turn this controller on. I like 60 psi. I like 60 psi, so it seems to be a good kind of amount of flow on the glass without power washing and getting loads of backsplash. So I grab the pole, I grab this, and I go walking down. What else? Well, as it's a Sunday, this job normally takes me about an hour and a half to do. Again, just because I have the pole system, it's so quick. But when I'm at work, I always like to enjoy myself. So I have my phone here, and I have a trusty set of earbuds here. Again, nothing too amazing, but decent enough sound quality. And I normally listen to music or podcasts or YouTube if I'm watching somebody's videos that I can listen to on audio. So yeah, so I'm gonna grab my stuff and I'm gonna work away. Again, I'm allowed to do this job because of it being an essential service, and you're allowed to clean buildings of essential services. But I'm not putting anything up on Facebook. Like normally I'd plaster this kind of thing on Facebook, and I'm not. And I'm like, my van is parked kind of a good way back from the entrance. Now of course people are going to see me. I'm not necessarily afraid of people seeing me either, like it's fine. But at the same time, I'm not necessarily flaunting it in front of people. So if there are a few jobs that I can do, a few pharmacies, a few doctor's surgeries, a lot of this stuff has to be done. Like I either do this at 6 o'clock in the morning, or I do it at the weekend, and I just fancied it this weekend rather than coming down really early one morning. So I fancied it today, so I thought, you know what, I'll come down this morning, a nice morning, tipping away and doing it. But again, just because of how cranky the public can be sometimes, I don't think it's worth putting it all over Facebook or just making a big deal of it in general. The same as we've been sanitizing one or two houses in the countryside this week, and again, literally just a few houses, nothing too strange or amazing. And again, these have all been houses really remote in the countryside, people paying online, stuff like that. But it's not worth, for the sake of bad publicity and people just being cranky guts in general, it's really not worth putting yourself out there. And for all the hard work we do for marketing during the year, it's not worth ruining a reputation, or just in general making people cranky and stuff, you know. Again, we don't want that drama. So again, yeah, so that's on. It's a matter of grabbing this. Oh, look, a bee. Grabbing this. I'm going to get the phone sorted out with a podcast or something, grabbing the pole. And I normally start down here and work my way all the way around the building. Alright guys, so what I've done here first is I have, lovely bells going there, I have done the very top there to allow that to drip down onto the bottom glass because of a couple of vents, and I've done that one up there, done those up there, and now I'm going to start these lower ones. I'll do those ones and then I'll go back to those, because those ones there have a habit of dripping just because of those kind of vents there, you know. So here, something else I was going to say about working in this time and trying to get the odd job done is I know I've seen online loads of stuff about people kind of being short for money or needing it for money, or other people calling people greedy and all of that sort of stuff, and it really doesn't come down to that at the end of the day for me. I think work is about so much more than just about the money, you know. It's about, you know, doing a good job. It's about, I suppose, a feeling of self-worth, about accomplishment, about doing stuff that you love, you know. Getting out in the van with the equipment that I bought and that I really like using, and doing a good job, being busy. It's about so much more than that. So me being at work, doing stuff like this, like, of course money is a byproduct and we all need money, and I'm not saying that, but at the same time it can be about so much more as well than just being out for the money. So that is that bit done. The sunshine has come out absolutely lovely, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come around here to the van and I'm going to start it up. Inflate this in here, make sure it's in neutral, otherwise it'll go flying off on me. Yeah, so if I have the reel just out a little bit, can't do that one-handed. If I have the reel out just a little bit, I just reel this in, but this takes a lot of power. So I turn that on, I grab that, and let that reel itself in. Not the tidiest reeling I've ever done. To get stuck there on the gate. So hang that up. Doing all this one-handed. Now, great. So then all I do is, when I'm two-handed, I gather up all of this and hang it there. But all I'm doing now is I'm driving around the corner to do the other half of it. It's not as big as that side was. There's only sort of like a few windows, there's none up high, and down low all there is kind of the same again, but not quite as much. There is a bit more at the back that I'll do, but really there's not quite as much as this. And as you saw, I've all the front done. Yeah, so that's taken about 45-50 minutes so far. And I'm just going to drive around. So I could reel in just off the power of the leisure battery, but my leisure battery is about 1.5 years old at this point, and if I do reel in without the van on with the split charge relay, sometimes it has come up. Like, my employee was out in the van one day, and when he did it, he wasn't turning on the van and he was doing loads of little jobs of reeling in and reeling out, and it came up low battery. Because it does take a massive surge, versus you can have 2 pumps running all day long on that leisure battery with just a few hours charge at night time, and there's never a problem. You go home and it's still 12 volts, it stays full. But these reels take a massive whack, so I wanted to I always kind of start the van, and when you start the van, the voltage goes, you know, up to 13 volts and you can reel in fine. So it just kind of protects the life and stuff. But I do love that, because like when you have it reeled, or on an estate, you might have it reeled out like miles and miles and miles, and just click the button and it's in. Like, so I'm gonna go and drive around the far side of the building, and I'm gonna do all of that. Well guys, that is that job done, nicely done and dusted, everything packed away in the van. A nice Sunday morning job, an hour and a half later, and I have that all done. So that job is done for the next hour and a half. Again, I loved it. I was listening away to a podcast, and I was talking to my friends. Just something I wanted to talk about before going was, I've seen a few kind of threads recently about employees and how people have had employees for a while and it's not worked, and trying to get the right person is very difficult, and how people have let employees go. Like I laid my employees off for the corona period. They're getting government subsidies now instead of being employed by me, and that's just the way it is. That's what everyone has to do. You don't like doing it, but if you have no work, well then, and they're completely understanding as well. But what I wanted to talk about my employees was how I can afford my employees, because I watched one of TN Lifestyle's videos, and he was saying how he couldn't afford or he was making no profit out of his employees. And so how I afford my 2 employees, now they're only part-time, well, they go between part-time and full-time, kind of depending how much I need them. How I afford my employees is, first of all, I got really, really busy myself. So I was full-time, loads of more work on, and then I went for bigger kind of industrial, commercial projects that I needed help on. Not that I needed, but I took on work that I couldn't handle myself. And then I was lucky enough to find employees that I could train up on the tools, and they are really, really good at what they do now. How did I afford them? Well, first of all, one thing that was mentioned on that video was giving them a full contract for full time, and I don't think that's very plausible in our job, because we don't work regular hours. It can be slightly seasonal sometimes, so my employees are only contracted to a day per week. So if it's a really really bad shitty week, I only have to give them a day's work, which works really well for me. Now of course it can be way more than that, but that's all that they're contracted to. So, and then on days that I do bring them, I make sure that it's worth my while. Like, so I don't bring them just for company, I bring them on jobs that I definitely will make money out of them on. So it's worth my while, because not only do you have to factor in the day's pay, but there's your statutory payments, there's holiday pay, equipment, uniform, 2 of everything. You do need to factor that in. So if I'm going to, it's not twice as quick with an employee, but I'd like things to be as close as possible to. And again, that comes down to organising of days. I don't bring him on days when, if I'm by myself, I finish at 4 o'clock, and with him I finish at 2 o'clock. That's not worth my while. Say, I've got a few days like that with rounds that are far away, and it's just not worth my while bringing him unless I get a few more extra jobs to make that day worthwhile. And like, don't get me wrong, there's days where I'm some weeks where I've got a cold and I'm tired, and I will bring him on a day just because it will make that day that much easier. But in general, for 90% of the time, I'm better off. I earn more money, even after paying him, even after all the expenses. I make more money that day that he's in the van than I could by myself. But having them on that kind of, they don't mind in their own life circumstances. I suppose it doesn't suit everyone to only have part-time work, but it does suit these guys. So even the fact of having them part-time, suiting them, like, I love like a morning like this with them. Like, it does change things for me. Like, if they're in the van, I'm more conscious of time, I'm more conscious of earning, I'm more conscious of time management, of
having breaks, but like not still trying to extract the most I can from a day. If it's 4 o'clock and I might have finished up by myself, it's like, well, I've got the help here and I don't want to have to do that job by myself, so we'll do that house from 4 to 5. So it does add a little bit more pressure. If people cancel in the day, you have to fight the feeling of, oh balls, that's, I'm down 50 quid or 70 quid on that big job for the day. So your profit kind of goes out the window for having that person for the day. They don't, but then again, another way that I make money with my employees is that sometimes there's loads of estates, like a really nice round for the day, and I'll have the day off for the kids. Like if I've done a Saturday or if I've done a Sunday, I might have a Monday off and I'll have that with the kids, and I'll send him out by himself in the van. He knows the route, he knows the people, he knows them as good as I do, nearly, on what he's got to get done for the day, so he can get all of that stuff done. And again, minus his wage, and I still make sweet money for the day. And all I've done is organise the day, got the van ready. Now, of course, it's my name over, it's my responsibility and stuff, but still, I still make good money on days that he goes out by himself. Again, I think it comes down to what kind of person you are. Like I had 5 employees going back a few years ago. I made no money than if I was out just by myself in the van, and I hated it. So there's definitely a balance of making money, but there's other side benefits. Look, I make more money with an employee, with 2 part-time employees. Well, one's only 1 day, so it's not really neither here nor there. I do make more money with employees than if I didn't have employees. So I like it for the money, I like it for the company, and I like it for making money for me on days that I'm not there. And then there's jobs that you want a second person. Not that we do ladder work, but foot in a ladder, or if you're at a massive factory, that there's 2 of you to get done real important bits early in the morning first before office staff comes in. So it can be handy on a normal, helping you lift machines. Like, it is really helpful, and I love having my 2 guys doing what they do, that they're always there to help. Sure, there's cost, sure there's times where they might make a mistake or break something, or like, but you have to factor that in. So if you haven't got an employee, make sure you're maxed out yourself first, and then hire the prices so that you lose 10% of the jobs, and then get full again. Like, the mistake I made years ago is I got employees, tried to do it with volume, and then was like, oh shit, these prices are really, really bad. So get good prices first, like sort out your round, get rid of all the low price and stuff first, and stay by yourself. Get paid up your prices so you're paid really well. Then maybe go for bigger jobs that you can't do by yourself, and then get somebody contract them for 0 hours for 1 day. And now I know it might feel a bit shitty, but like, that is the only way of operating it. Like, and it's better for my employees because they get full-time to part-time employment through the year, versus if I was to give them full-time employment through the whole year regardless, I would have had to have let them go years ago, because I couldn't afford in January and February, when it's just my normal round and there's only enough for one person and one employee or 2 employees for a day, 2 days a week. I couldn't afford to pay them full time during January and February until the season starts in March, and then we go crazy and then they're full time. So it's actually better for them to view it that way, that it's better for them to do that, rather than it's better for them to work part-time, because through the year they actually end up with a job and the money that they end up with, and they are well looked after money-wise through the year when things are going good, and they remember that. Versus if I was trying to pay them full-time, I don't have the jobs. I'd have to stay at home myself and just send them out, which is not what I want. I tried that a few years ago, being at home, organising in the office, the headaches and stuff like that. And I actually want to be outside on the tools, doing a good job, meeting customers, being out and about. That's what I want, you know. So yeah, so I'm going shopping now for the family. and then bringing that home. Funny things happened in the last couple of weeks is I have become adverse to meat, and I don't know why, because I was one of the biggest carnivores going, and now I had some dodgy meat. It wasn't great quality a couple of days in a row, and now I just can't stomach meat. I can't smell it, I can't taste it. I hate it, and I don't know what's happened. So I've turned into a vegetarian overnight without planning it. So I'm gonna have to try and get some nice vegetarian meals or something like that, because I just literally I just gag at the thought of meat, and it's not animals and stuff like it's smell and taste, and I don't know what the hell's going on. So here I've had a lovely Sunday morning, really enjoyed my time out. Did a really good play. This is the back of this place here. Did a really good job. Spotless windows, everything looking good, and enjoyed my time out. So I hope your lockdown is going okay, and you're doing exercise, and you're trying to do what you can do. I hope it's all going well for you. So I'm going to shut these doors now, and I'm going shopping. Don't forget my phone.